Hey, so I wanted to do a really quick unboxing. I ordered this compact size planner from Amazon Japan. And it did not take super long to arrive, but I also ordered these compact size Franklin Covey universal inserts. This is day on 2 pages for an entire year, and it's just over like an inch thick, I think. I don't know that I have. Yeah, here's a tape measure really quick. So the entire year is an inch and a quarter, including the tabs and everything. And that is just amazing. It's because it's printed on Tomoe River paper, and I'm going to do a review on this specifically. Just for reference, hopefully this doesn't make everything fall apart. This is not quite a year's worth of regular Franklin Covey inserts, right? Can you see the difference? It's insane. Okay, so it's been about a week since I unboxed these inserts, and I've got them in my binder here. I wanted to walk through some of the things that I've noticed between this set of Universal from Franklin Covey or Franklin Planner in Japan versus my 2019 Bloom set here. One of the things that I did want to point out really quickly is in that intro, I said, you know, it's like an inch and a quarter for all of the inserts in the pack. That includes some things outside of just your daily planning pages and the monthly tabs, but it is significantly thinner. One of the big things that I want to make sure you understand is that whole pack that I got covers 15 months, not 12. So it goes from July of 2020 through September of 2021. The other thing that I want to show you is this is a regular month, day on 2 in the 2019 Bloom set. This is 2 months of the day on 2 in the Franklin Planner Universal on Tomoe River paper from Japan, and they are about the same. So I would say this is a little bit thicker than 1 month of the standard, but you could fit 2 months in your 2 months worth of day on 2-page inserts for approximately the same, maybe a little bit more ring space that you could fit 1 month of the regular Franklin Covey inserts. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to make sure you understand. The second thing is that the only pages that are not printed on Tomoe River paper are the calendar. Other than that, and like there's a year at a glance that came as well that's on a heavier cardstock. Everything else is printed on Tomoe River paper. And that's because I think those items are meant to stay in your planner long term, whereas the daily pages are meant to go like in and out and ultimately get archived and set aside. So taking a look at the planner pages, there's really not a whole lot of difference. Just make sure that I'm totally on frame. Okay, so this is my September 2019 in the Bloom set. This is September 2020 in the Universal. It's pretty much identical. The only difference is you get a few more extra lines. I do think the line width here is a little bit narrower. It's not a big difference. So there's actually more lines, like a few more lines here. There is more white space, like blank space that you could put stickers or write like daily notes in the like if you wanted to highlight, oh, this is so-and-so's birthday, or, you know, like an important event that day that you didn't want to miss that's not really like a scheduled thing. There's more white space to do that in the Blooms than there is in this. But on the whole, I'm loving the fact that this is very much like the Franklin Covey original that's got that, I think, rather dated green thing going on. But except it's very minimal, and it's mostly blue ink, like a nice navy ink with a little bit of gray on effectively white pages. And so I really love how minimal and classic it is. A little bit like the Monticello version that you can get in a US Franklin Covey store, but not as decorated. That's got more of like a marbling effect going on. Okay, so this is the same. You get your previous, current, and next month here. This is the index in the Franklin Covey system. You would index your pages much like a bullet journal so that you would know where to reference things in your daily pages. Like if you took notes on a call or something like that on, you know, the 7th of September, you just write 7 here, and then like the number of the note it was on your page, and then whatever the call was about. So if you were like, oh, I know I talked to the insurance company sometime in September, maybe it was last month, maybe it was October, you could just quickly glance through your September and October index pages until you found that note, and then go to the daily page in your reference. You know, if it was like 6 months later, you'd be able to reference that. All right, so to the calendar. This is probably my favorite and the biggest difference. The Japanese universal pages start on Monday, which is huge. I fell in love with a Monday start back in 2016 when I first got into Japanese planners and like the Hobonichi. I live in the US. I've always lived in the US. I mean, I've traveled around the world a little bit, but primarily calendars have always started on a Sunday for me. This was like game changing. I love that I can put my weekend together and kind of plan the weekend as a unit and my work week as a unit. And Franklin Covey does that. If you get the weekly sets, their weeks start on Mondays. But there's something about my brain that if I'm looking at a calendar that starts on a Sunday, but then I'm trying to plan on a Monday for the week, I'll end up putting things in the wrong column. So like if this is a Sunday instead of a Monday, I'll treat like Thursday and Friday. I get confused. I don't know. It's always ended poorly. So I need consistency across like where my week starts. And I love this option. I would have to say the fact that Franklin Covey does not offer a Monday start in their US pages is the only reason I don't buy from them. So if they would, I would not have found this option, which is a good and a bad thing, I guess. Bad for the US store. Good for me though, because I really love these Tomoe River pages. And the space saving that you can get in terms of like the amount of information you can fit in rings. So either you could fit so much more in larger size rings, or you could even size down and still carry the same amount of information. All right, so other than the Monday start here, everything is basically the same. The boxes are the same size. The layout is effectively the same. You know, you have your week and then a notes memo area. Lots of blank space here. The only Japanese on this are these little tiny titles. I'm not entirely, I have no clue what they say. I'm guessing / assuming they're referencing something specific to Japan, maybe holidays, or really, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But very easy to ignore. And also very easy to dress up with some washi and whatnot. Because, you know, I like a little bit of planning. This is going to be a very functional tool for me. So not a lot of pretty planning is going to go into it. Like my Stology, which is chock full of color and stuff. This is going to be very minimal. We'll see how long that lasts. It is still me, right? So then this next page here on the back of your monthly, you still get a master task list and then a second index page for on your actual pages. The initial idea is you would mirror your the index on this. So you'd have it here and here. That way, if you had your, you know, archive binder or you had your actual planner, you could still index them. But some people, I mean, you could use them differently. You could have flow over tasks here or whatever you wanted. This page is not really any different. It's just the same. There's a little bit of Japanese here. This page, however, is a little bit different. In the US version, at least in Bloom's, you get a personal and a business master task list. Here you get still a personal and a business divide. They're the same. The personal is on the left, business is on the right, but you also get a space carved out specifically for monthly goals. So you could progress track your goals, or however you want to divide it out. You could easily do this here too. Just draw a line, work goals from the bottom up and tasks from the top down, however you wanted to do it. Not a huge difference. Going into the actual Tomoe River pages now, there is a schedule here. This is another difference. So like I mentioned before, you can see all of the white space happening here. So this would give you like that space to be like, oh, it's, you know, Amanda's birthday or whatever. You still work that in over here too. Throw down some washi, whatever you want to do. This is your schedule, and it goes from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. with a couple lines before and after. On the Japanese, the universal ones, it starts at 6 a.m. and goes to 1 a.m. the next day, but there's no extra space. So if you had like a 4 a.m. flight, you'd have to just kind of make it work. The other thing, and I think this is really cool, on the US ones, you get this daily tracker section. You don't get that here. I actually utilize this to track expenses or anything that I'm expecting to come in that day. Like if I have something shipping to me and it should arrive, tracking says it should arrive on a certain day, I'll just make a note on that day to make sure that I get it. And I do like this, they have your quadrant 2 activities broken out on every page. And I'll do a video on how the Franklin Covey kind of maps out quadrants and how you should look at your tasks and so forth. I think it's a very interesting focus, but basically in their system, the quadrant 2 activities are the most important but least urgent things that you should be focusing on. So ultimately, these are the things that are really important in your life, but aren't going to demand that they get done on their own. So it's a good idea to schedule them into your planner and make time for them to kind of push yourself to get them accomplished, because ultimately those task items are going to have the biggest impact on your life in general, is the gist. So it's cool that they kind of break that out. The other difference would be you get the current and the future month. And then the last thing that I want to point out and just make sure we're on frame is that the day in the current month that this page, like this day's pages, is bolded in this calendar. So you can easily see what day of the month you're on the calendar and kind of give you a feel for where you are in the current month. I've seen people do this where they like highlight the week. I thought that was an interesting difference. So, this side. So this is the other side of the daily page, right? This is a dot grid and this is lined. I do think the line width here is also slightly smaller than the line width here. I do want to call out this little marking. They actually mark all the daily pages, similar to how the Hobonichi does it, or even how the B6 Day on One does it. These kinds of, I don't know what they're called, marking on the spine, on the page edge. And then you get the month and the Japanese name. So this is saying 9 and then September, but September's in Japanese. And then you get the day. There's a 1 right here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a 1 and then September in English. And that's on every page. So like September 3rd says 3 September, right? And then other than that, you do get your, like, the day of the year that it is, how many days are left in the year, and the week that it is. 2020 is a leap year. 2019 wasn't, so that's why they don't match up. That's basically the differences in that. The next thing that I wanted to point out here are the end of the month. You get a budget or expense tracker in both of these. I have some ideas on how I want to use this that's not actually tracking expenses, but tracking some other things, but it is exactly the same. There's some Japanese here on this page, but it's very easy to ignore, and it's pretty self-explanatory that you've got a line per day and then a couple different columns to track whatever you want to track. So that is the bulk of the planner, right? And the inserts that came with it. So you get this kind of setup times 15, right? The other thing that you get is this year at a glance that I mentioned. This one is on a heavier weight cardstock. Even though my pages started in 2020 in July, they still had 2019 on this. So I don't know if they just had, I don't really know how that happened, but you go all the way to 2022 on this year at a glance. And this is a Monday start on all of these calendars. So I love that. This holiday and observances actually came with my Bloom set. So it's set up to be 2019 here and then 2020 for future reference. I really like this page. I wish it had come with the universal, but then it would probably be Japanese holidays. These also came with it, and all of this is on Tomoe River paper. So you get another year at a glance, but this is on Tomoe River paper, so I don't expect it to last as long. I probably should take it out and washi tape it, and I've just been marking the days as they go by. This one did start with 2020 at the top, so it goes just for 2020 and 2021, and then you start your future planning. So this set goes through September. starting in October, you get all the months for an entire year. So this is going to go to September of 2022 to future plan, right? And then on the back of this is 2022 and 2023 year at a glance. So this right here would kind of make a nice future planning section where you've got the current year, then 2021, 2022, 2023 right there. Then going forward, they have super future planning. Starting in 2022, you get a whole year at a glance where you could just write like 5 or so things that are happening. So you could use this as a perpetual calendar. I've used it to track things and just ignore that it's future planning. But you get 6 of these. So 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That is a lot of future planning that you could do out of here. And then I imagine you would get an updated set where everything rolls forward a year when you buy the next one. So that is my review of these pages in terms of how the layout looks. I do have a couple other things that I wanted to make sure that I said. I paid about $70, give or take a little bit, to get these brought to me from Amazon Japan. It took 5 business days. No, it took 5 days, not 5 business days. Sorry, I said that wrong. The US site, you can buy a set. It's only 12 months, not 15. And it is about between $40 and $50, then plus shipping. So there's a little bit of a markup. I really love the Franklin Covey monthly tabs. I think they're well sized. They're not super tall, like they don't stick out a whole bunch. So I was very happy to get the calendar on a Monday start. That alone to me is worth the extra price that I paid. Additionally, I love that it is on Tomoe River paper. I've not seen dated inserts like this offered on Tomoe River paper. I know you could buy a printable like from DIY Fish or Paper and Cats or something like that on Etsy and probably get this similar layout. I know for sure you can with DIY Fish. And she has like amazing cool fold out things. Like she's got a really interesting and intricate system. But then you have to go through and print and cut everything if you want it on Tomoe River paper. And not having to do that was also worth the markup, in my opinion. I think that's all that I had. If there's anything I left out or you have any questions about this set, please let me know. I am super looking forward to having July start so that I can get in them and start using them. I have not done an extensive pen test, but the few things I have written take my fountain pen ink just fine. I think that's pretty common because Japan has a pretty avid fountain pen user community and following with their stationery and paper planning and stuff like that. So I wasn't really expecting it to not take fountain pen ink well. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked this and you want to see more videos about this kind of system, please like and subscribe, ask any questions in the box below, and I'll try to link as much as I can of all this stuff down in the description box too. Until next time.